So what's up guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing, welcome back to another zombies video where today we are looking at the story of Call of the Dead. The next map in our zombies series from Ascension over to this one. As always, I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, if you could so kindly take 2 seconds out of your time and leave me a like rating whenever you feel like it, that'd be very much appreciated. Make sure you also hit that subscribe button for more zombies videos daily on the channel. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Enjoy. Sometime in the late 1930s, early 1940s, Group 935 set up their outposts across Nazi Germany, from Lower Silesia, Germany, to Salzburg, Austria, to bases in Berlin. Group 935 also has an outpost in Siberia. This place to us is known as Call of the Dead. Dr. Maxey set up this Group 935 Siberian outpost so they could experiment with 115 on living test subjects, hoping to produce a serum capable of rendering the human mind responsive to commands from another. Dr. Maxey sent his assistant Edward Richthofen, Harvey Yener, who was an American doctor at Group 935, and other 935 employees to work on experiments at the site in Siberia. But first, in order to undergo the experiments they needed to do at Call of the Dead in controlling the mind of humans, they needed some test subjects to experiment on, and so used prisoners of war they had captured. These prisoners of war was a Russian called Nikolai Belensky, a Japanese soldier called Takeo Masaki, and a Mexican called Pablo Marinus. These prisoners of war were captured and then given to Group 935 as test subjects, where by order from the Nazis they were to use these prisoners as experiments on mind control. This was part of the deal between Group 935 and the Nazi Party, where the Nazis would provide Group 935 with the funding they needed, and in return Group 935 would provide Nazis with weapons, a zombie horde, teleporters, and other things that Group 935 were doing regarding 115. And so the experiments at Siberia were underway. Using these prisoners of war as subjects in his tests, he began experimenting on them, using 115, trying to see if he could create a serum capable of controlling their mind. But the experiments didn't really go as Richthofen intended. Richthofen thought that it would be easier to control someone's mind if they were dead, because their mind wouldn't be able to fight back the serum. But Maxis insisted that they had to be alive. And so Richthofen continued to experiment on these test subjects, but he failed. And one day when he was trying to control the mind of the Mexican, Pablo, Richthofen killed him. Pablo had died and his spleen had fell out onto the floor.
Log entry 1471, date September 2nd, 1845. Diary. Another day, another failure. This time, subject N3WP just slightly off the floor. The Russian subject still smells like urine, even after he was given a bath and deloused twice. And I think I might have killed the specimen from Mexico. His spleen is on the floor and he's not moving anymore. I can verify with certainty, however, that the barrier is not located in the spleen. Dr. Continue no matter the cost. I wonder what he might think of the experiment, the little girl. Nice! Drop that! That's my spleen!
Not only that, but Richthofen also erased the memories of Takeo and Nikolai, leaving both of them not knowing who they were. Now with only 2 test subjects alive, Richthofen needed a third. And it was lucky for him that at this time, Tank Dempsey, who was part of the Marine recon team who was sent in to rescue Peter McCain at Verrucht, after the other members of that team were overrun and killed by the zombies, this now meant that Tank Dempsey was trapped at Verrucht. Being the only survivor now trapped there with no ammo, someone working at Verrucht in security found Tank Dempsey, captured him, told Richthofen, and then transferred him over to Group 935's Siberian outpost as Richthofen's replacement test subject for the Mexican he had killed.
Log entry 1472, date September 10th, 1945. Dear Diary, today was a good day. The swelling has subsided. The ice helps. They made liverwurst for lunch. It was... I still have not had any luck reprogramming any of the live specimens. Dr. The key to unlocking the human mind will be more easily discovered on someone who isn't dead yet. I am not convinced. The army is stored until I can break this trust barrier. Oh, apparently someone in security found a spy in the room. They're delivering him from place the one that I broke.
This now meant that Richtofen once again had 3 test subjects: Nikolai, Takeo, and now Dempsey. Though after the capture of Tank Dempsey, this now left Richtofen suspicious. Because of the amount of American spies they had found in the group, Dr. Peter McCain, who was an American spy and had been found out at Verrückt and managed to escape, Richtofen now became suspicious of other Americans working in Group 935 as well. And one of those was Dr. Harvey Yeaner. Yeaner was an American who came over to work with Group 935 alongside Maxis and had been transferred over to work in the Siberian site at the same time as Richtofen. And whilst his role was also to experiment on the human mind in Siberia, he also created a new wonder weapon using 115. Yeaner created a weapon that he called the Scavenger. In creating this very powerful weapon for Group 935, he became a very respectable and trusted member. But Richtofen was still suspicious. Richtofen, even after this, still didn't trust Harvey Yeaner.
Log entry 1474, date September 20th, 1945. Dear Dial, it would seem that the OSS realized that we captured one of their spies. They tried to send a rescue team into Verrückt. That was all first batch of subjects. I suspect there are other moles in the organization. Dr. Harvey Yeaner, or Dr. Peter McKay to be precise. Dr. McKay include any Americans in Group 935, no matter how much genius they had. Stupid Americans this year. Apple pies and baseball and children. But I digress.
But nonetheless, since Richtofen didn't have the power to do anything about this, since Maxis was the leader of 935 and Richtofen was just the assistant working, doing whatever Maxis asked him, Richtofen continued his work with 115. And eventually, now he had his new test subject, he started to yield some interesting results. Tank Dempsey acquired severe anger management issues, Nikolai Belensky became functionless without alcohol, and Takeo Misaki, well, his mind was broken. He could only speak Japanese proverbs. And Richtofen found these results fascinating. Although Edward didn't really have control of them, he managed to wipe their minds.
The new American test subject is interesting. Much. His intellect seems low, but his will is strong. Like the others, he doesn't seem to know who he is anymore. Unlike the others, he keeps breaking the restraints and yelling at them. Test subject N3WB is still staring at the floor, muttering what sounds like some kind of proverb over and over again. I think his mind may have been destroyed by the process. Oh, there. The Russian subject recently began responding to stimuli, but only after injecting him with a new serum made primarily from vodka. Perhaps this is a breakthrough even. Log entry 1473. Date September 17th, 1949. Dial. Today is on them dirty Nazi. That's right. Want some of this? I'm taking you home in bags. Freak. Nine. Think so, America. Okay, now. I suppose this must be the replacement test. Time to get to work. Hit him again with the stick. Log entry 1475. Date October 1st, 1945. Dear Dial. As for the control group test, they have been put on hold. Recently, I discovered that Dr. does not plan mass producing the DG2 as he swore he would. If he won't move those plans forward, then I will continue following his dream of an undead army. He doesn't deserve his perch of power. Just know what to do with it. I know just what to do with him. And I'll take care of that little brat if I get the chance to.
But before Richtofen could do any more work on these test subjects, World War II was at an end, resulting in an Allied victory in the collapse of the Third Reich. This now meant that Group 935 was no longer funded. Since they had all their funding from the Nazi Party and, well, World War II was now over, Group 935 no longer had funding, they didn't have enough money or 115 to carry on with their tests. And so, along with his test subjects, he returned to Derice, where the future looked grim. As we know, Maxis and Richtofen conducted one last test at Derice, this time on Samantha's dog Fluffy, where things went wrong. She turned into a hellhound. Richtofen teleported Maxis and Samantha away. Samantha took control of the zombies. Maxis was killed and his soul sucked inside of the machine on Moon, and then Samantha sent the zombies to attack and kill everyone at Group 935, and so Richtofen quickly released his test subjects, they overloaded the teleporter, and quickly escaped to Kino der Toten. I've already done a full 40-minute version of the story of Derice, so if you're interested, or Kino, I will link them down in the description. And that is what happened in Siberia with Group 935, but as we know, that isn't the end, that isn't all we see of Siberia. Years later, Group 935 was well and truly over. All of their outposts were abandoned and had been destroyed, but sometime before 2011, a director called George A. Romero was doing some research on a World War II film he wanted to make. But whilst doing this research, he came across some old Nazi documents. Because Group 935 and the Nazis had signed a contract, he also found hidden information about Group 935, about the experiments they were doing with the zombies controlling the human mind, necromancers, Element 115 raising the undead, and George A. Romero, being the fanatic of zombies that he was obsessed with the theory that zombies maybe did exist. He took these documents that he found and started to do research.
Years ago, I did research for a World War II movie. I came across some old Nazi documents. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Element 115, necromancers, raising the dead, real creepy stuff.
We're completely surrounded! Come on!
The coolest thing? Some of that crazy shit happened right here.
He found out about the abandoned Group 935 outpost from World War II in Siberia, and so decided that he was going to shoot a film there. But really, that was just an excuse for George to go there, try to find some proof, some answers that not only Group 935 exist, but that in fact zombies exist as well. So this director, George, gathered his casting crew of Sarah Gellar, Robert Englund, Danny Trejo, and Michael Rooker, along with cameramen and everything else he needed to make his film, and travelled to this Siberian outpost in Russia. When they got to Siberia, George started recording his film. But when recording was over, he would explore the abandoned site to try and find evidence of the existence of Group 935 and the zombies. As George found more and more things, as he did more and more research, the results he had were fascinating. George had a diary, and in there, he would write down everything he knew. George knew about the mad German scientist Richtofen, he knew about the foul-mouthed American Tank Dempsey, Nikolai Belensky. He also knew about the Japanese soldier Takeo Misaki. George had all crazy things in his diary, from information about 935, the zombies, teleporters, time travel, different dimensions. And when he wasn't finding out about all of this, he was directing his film. But one day when recording for the film was in progress, one of the characters accidentally messed with something. We don't know what, whether it was a piece of 115, whether they touched something, an ancient relic from Group 935's, we don't know. But whatever they did, they accidentally awoken the zombies at the Siberian outpost. Because they were filming a zombie action movie, they first thought that this zombie was an actor. But as they quickly found out it wasn't, the zombie picked up, took George A. Romero, he became infected and became one of them. This now left the cast of Sarah Gellar, Danny Trejo, Robert Englund, and Michael Rooker to fight off against George and the rest of the zombies.
Well, I've always liked the monster within idea. I like the zombies being us. It's like zombies are the blue-collar monsters.
We're completely surrounded!
We're completely fucked!
Are you girls kidding me? I've been praying for this shit! Come on!
Boys, let's get to work.
God's sakes, he missed me again! Oh, cut!
Are you blind, man?
Like this.
Ow!
See?
No, Jefe, I do it like this.
Danny!
I do it like this.
Get back to hair and makeup. You don't look dead enough.
Come on, let's go.
That ain't in the script.
We're writing a new one. It's called Maggot Death Massacre. This is a real nightmare.
Let's slay some stiffs.
Whilst the crew was fighting off against the zombies, Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey teleported from Kino der Toten to his next location, Call of the Dead, to collect the golden rod. But not fully knowing how to use the NDT yet, Richtofen teleported to the right location, but he teleported too far into the future, into 2011, when the crew were fighting off against George and the zombies. And this now left Richtofen and his crew trapped behind a locked door. With the fuse for the teleporter broke, and Richtofen now being trapped here, he had to ask the Call of the Dead crew, Sarah, Robert, Danny, and Michael, to help him, where he told them to complete different objectives around the area, which would eventually lead to them obtaining the golden rod. Once they got it, they put it in a little transportation tube, sent it through to the room where Richtofen was locked, and once Richtofen and the crew had the golden rod, they thanked them and went on their way to their next location. Even though Richtofen, Nikolai, Dempsey, and Takeo now had the golden rod and had left, this though now still meant that Sarah, Robert, Danny, and Michael were still trapped in Call of the Dead fighting off against the zombies. But it became too much for them, and the crew died. As for George, since he was already infected, since he became a zombie, technically he was dead anyway. Now, whilst we never hear from the crew again, so we can assume they all died in Siberia, it is believed that actually Sarah Gellar managed to escape. And this is because of one of the radios we hear in Revelations. Now, I say it's believed and not 100% confirmed because we don't know who this woman speaking is. It doesn't, really sound like Sarah. However, it is a woman. She's speaking of Call of the Dead. She knows about all of this information. So we could assume it's her, but by some of the things that she says, it could also be not her. It's really interesting. So either Sarah died there or she managed to escape. We don't know if this is her talking or not.
It's been 6 weeks since the rest of the Call of the Dead cast and crew went missing. Hollywood's lost its fucking mind with this story. An entire production vanishes? Crazy talk. I told you, this is why you don't shoot in Siberia. So with Agent on line 1, Manager on line 2, I needed to sort this quickly. I'd rather zombies come for me than an agent. That's real horror. I don't need that.
But this woman speaking says it's been 6 weeks since the rest of the Call of the Dead cast and crew went missing. Hollywood has lost its mind. An entire production crew vanishes. Crazy talk. She says, I told someone this is why you don't shoot in Siberia. And so now she has an agent on one line and a manager on the other, demanding to know what happened to the Call of the Dead cast and crew. What happened to George, Danny Trejo, and everyone else who went to Siberia to shoot this film? She then says, I'd rather have a zombie come for me than an agent. That makes it a little bit weird. Is this Sarah or isn't it? The way she speaks, like she says an entire production crew vanishes, crazy talk, makes it sound like she wasn't even there, like she can't believe it happened. But then she says she'd rather have zombies come for her than an agent, which makes it seem like she, she's not playing around. She knows zombies exist, she knows they're scary. She's saying they're not as scary as an agent, so we don't know who this is. However, she then goes on to say how she found research of George's, she found his diary, and it contained all information about Group 935, 115, Richtofen and the crew, and she couldn't believe the research, what he was doing and what she had found.
I started going through his research, and good fucking lord, this is a confusing mess. So much shit about time travel, different dimensions. Honestly, I'm not even sure what he's getting into. You can make this stuff up. A mad German scientist, a foul-mouthed American, a drunk Soviet, and a warrior Japanese soldier, all working together?
It seemed like George in that diary also had information about Argotha. He had information about time travel in different dimensions, and somehow this woman had information about Brock and Gary. Whether she found this in George's diary or maybe when she was doing more research on all of this information in George's book, she found out information about these two guys named Brock and Gary. As we know, they were two British explorers who were in a private plane on an expedition when they encountered a freak astroperic event that we see happen in the Shangri-La loading screen, which caused the plane to crash in Shangri-La. It was believed by everyone that these two explorers were dead, but as we know, they managed to survive. They went on to explore the temples of Shangri-La, they touched the altar, and became trapped in an infinite loop at Shangri-La, where they would explore the caves, they would die, they would be killed, but every time they died, they would just be sent back to the very beginning of Shangri-La, where they would explore it, go through the caves, die, and be sent back to the beginning again. And we go back to this radio with this woman, where she says, so I started with a simple one, something about two guys named Brock and Gary, looking for Argotha. She says they finished like dead. She says she'd figure she'd start there. The next thing she knows, she's in this jungle. It's hot and humid, the sky goes black, like dark black. She looks up and there's an eclipse. The next thing she knows, she's being chased. Something's chasing her, something like zombies. She says, trust me, I know how it sounds. I've been fighting them for so long now. I should be dead. In fact, I'm pretty sure I am dead, but it just keeps going.
So I started with a simple one. Something about two guys named Brock and Gary looking for Arthur. They finished like dead. Figured I'd start there. Next thing I know, I'm in this jungle, and it's hot and humid, and the sky goes black. Like, dark black. I look up, there's an eclipse, and these things start chasing me. Like zombies. Trust me, I know how it sounds. I've been fighting them so long now. I should be dead. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have died, but it just keeps going. I've started setting up these traps. Pretty damn proud of them, if I do say so myself. Wait, I hear something.
Can't help but think they hold some kind of key clues. We should investigate the stepped pyramid for some clues. I think we should get the hell out of here while we still have the chance. But we're so close to proving the existence of...
Ugh, finally. Sorry, the only thing more annoying than the undead are those two guys, whoever they are. Anyway, I've been trying to get some bars on myself for days, and I'm having no luck. I swear, if I die a few more times, I may actually lose it. At least then I'll have those agents off my back.
When Sarah, or if it's not Sarah, whoever this woman is, started to look into what happened to Brock and Gary, she was then mysteriously teleported to Shangri-La, where just like Brock and Gary, she became trapped in the same loop as them. She starts to explore, she looks up, she can see the eclipse that we see in Shangri-La. The zombies start to chase her, they kill her, and then she gets sent back to the very beginning. She explores, the zombies kill her, she gets sent back, and she's stuck in the same loop just like Brock and Gary are. And as she says, she should be dead. She says, in fact, she's pretty sure she is dead or she has died, but it just keeps going. She remembers or kind of realizes that maybe she is stuck in this loop just like the other two explorers. So if this is Sarah, then she ends up getting stuck in the loop at Shangri-La. If it's not, then she dies at Call of the Dead, and this radio is from some other unknown woman. But there we go, guys. That is the full story of Call of the Dead. Hopefully you've enjoyed. As always, these videos take a awfully long time to make. That's why they end up coming out like once a week. Even though I'd love to get them up a little bit quicker for you guys, they just take an awfully long time to do research and editing the whole video. So if you could please leave me a like rating, that's all I'm going to ask. That'd be very much appreciated. Could we go for 3,000 like ratings? Make sure you subscribe for more videos on the channel. Leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on what other videos would you like to see, what other story of videos, because I'm going to do some more of them very soon, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.